welcome back to the State Champs studio for another episode of Extra Innings. I'm your host, Elizabeth Kuhn, here with our baseball analyst, Mark Stroia. This season is absolutely flying by. We're getting into the last couple of weeks, and we're seeing some teams really rise up to the top.
Yeah, we saw some really good games last week as we get near the playoffs in June.
Yeah, and we're going to jump right into our first game, Mona Shores at Zeeland East. East really jumped out early with that 5-run second inning, and they really just didn't look back from there.
Yeah, Zeeland East senior Easton Remick struck out 11 batters over 6 innings and also drove in 2 runs as a Chicks win over Mona Shores. Zeeland got 5 runs in the second inning, and that's all they needed to cruise to an 8-0 victory. Zeeland East improves this record to 12-1 and a ranking of number 6 in Division I, and Mona Shores falls to 17-7 on the season. And
we saw some really good pitching in this one. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, both pitchers are top pitchers in the area. They both threw really well, and both teams are looking to count on those guys to carry them through into June.
Yeah, and how important is that? I mean, Remick went 6 innings, striking out 11 for Zeeland East. I mean, that's just an incredible way to round out that game.
Absolutely. When you get 2 pitchers on the hill for each team, it can really go a long way. And, just in high school, having good pitching is extremely valuable. And, if you can have 3 or 4 good starters, and because in the playoffs, you can't spot pitch your guys. You can't really save anybody. You have to play each game to win. So having multiple pitchers is really a big advantage in high school.
Next up, Brighton took on Howell. Brighton getting the win 5-0. And really, pitching is just the conversation again in this one.
Yeah, this game really was all about Brighton senior pitcher, Purdue commit Easton Story. Story pitched a 3-hitter versus Howell, striking out 14 batters in the 5-0 shutout win. The Bulldogs' offense was supplied by junior Lane Petit, who had 2 doubles and drove in 2, putting Brighton up 3-0 in the 4th inning. Brandon Childs also had an RBI as they won in convincing fashion.
And we got to talk a little bit about Easton Story. I mean, he's had an incredible game, an incredible year, but he's got a little bit of a tough, challenging pass that he had to get through.
He did. He started the season a little bit on the slow, but he's been red hot for the last month. I was at the game. I was one of the umpires in the game against Howell, and he was just lights out. I mean, this kid, he struck out the last 6 guys to end the game. He was virtually unhittable. I mean, he was just really awesome. Howell's a team that, if they are having a bad year, they always hit. Hitting is not a problem in Howell for many, many years. I mean, they might be down pitching-wise or defensively, but they always hit. So to shut out a team like Howell is a really big accomplishment. Here's a kid that had Tommy John surgery a few years ago. He thought maybe he might not ever pitch again, and so he's been red hot lately and doing really well. Also after that game in Howell, he followed that up with a 2-hitter, striking out 14 for a 2nd straight shutout in a row against Plymouth. So the kid's on fire, and he's just having a heck of a year. Yeah,
and to come back from an injury like that and be incredible game after game, that really says a lot.
It really does. He's like I said, he's really been on fire his last couple of starts, lowering his ERA to 1.73.
And you mentioned that you actually worked that game. So can you just talk about what it was like to be, behind the scenes a little bit?
Yeah, I was umpiring that game. I was the base umpire on that game. My partner was Todd Willis, Todd Willis is a very, very good umpire. Our group of umpires called D1 officials, there's a lot of really good umpires, really solid ball and strike guy. When you're an umpire, you earn your reputation as a ball and strike umpire. Nobody ever sees me coming and says, here comes Mark Stroia, he's a good base umpire. So that's how you really earn your reputation. And our group has 8 to 10 really, really strong ball and strike umpires. And Todd Willis is right up there at the top. Maybe, 1 or 2 in my opinion. He's really, really good. So.
Last up, Rochester Adams took on Lake Orion. Again, a battle of the pitchers. Adams' Parker Pico with 7 strikeouts. Lake Orion's Casey Robertson with 6 strikeouts. I mean, just talk about how important that pitching is and a little bit about this game.
Yeah, this game for sure featured 2 top pitchers. The game-winning hit was a 2-run blast over the right field fence by Adams Jr. Bino Waters, a Notre Dame commit, in the top of the 7th, giving Adams the victory 6-4.
We're going to step aside and toss it to Lauren Plant with this week's In the Dugout.
Where do you feel expectations are for this particular squad?
Well, I think this team I've been telling our guys all year long that this team is a team that can go deep into the playoffs. And that's what our goal is, to take one game at a time. We were unfortunate. Northville got really hot this year, unbelievable. They were undefeated in our division, which probably had like 5 or 6 teams in it, in the top 20, I think, at one point or another. So hats off to Northville. They had a tremendous year. So that was our number one goal coming in, was to win our division.
Right.
And then to try to win our league. And that we didn't even fall into that chance either. So now we got the districts to look forward to, and I keep telling my guys, we can do it. I know we can do it, and we can go deep into the playoffs. This team has the makeup. We just have to play great games. That's all there is to it. These are going to be low-scoring games, and the less mistakes you make, the better chance you have.
To check out that full interview, just head on over to the State Champs YouTube page. All you need to do is search State Champs Net. All right, as we round out the season, we want to really shout out some of our top performers and mark your top 3. So can you just walk us through who those players are this week?
Yeah, you have to start off with Brighton's Easton Story. I mean, after a slow start, he's been red hot. His ERA at this point is 1.73. You can't get much better than that. Number 2, sophomore pitcher Matt Marino from Saline. This kid's only a sophomore, and I had 2 of his games behind home plate this year, and he's a bulldog on the mound. I mean, he has the presence of a senior. He has a 5-2 record with 5 wins coming as league wins this year. And number 3, we have to give a shout out to Nick Horn of Howell. Not only is Nick the leading hitter on Howell's team, he's also 5-0 as a pitcher. He's only a sophomore. He had a 1-hitter for a 2-0 victory against Canton earlier last week. So he's doing a great job for Howell.
Yeah, and it's really great to see this young talent. I mean, these are sophomores out there getting the job done. It's great to see.
Absolutely. There's been, I've been noticing there's a lot of sophomores and freshmen this year really contributing to varsity teams. A lot of times you'll have some sophomores, but I've actually seen some freshmen that are starting and playing well for some really good programs. So it's kind of rare, but it's good to see.
That's all we got for this week's edition of Extra Innings. We've got a couple more weeks left as we head into June.
Yeah, most of the college seasons are finished now, so a lot of these coaches are going to be out looking at some of these high school players. So now's the time to shine for some of these young kids, and so we're looking for a strong finish in May and looking for some good competition when the playoffs start in early June.
Absolutely. We'll be back next week with another edition of Extra Innings. State Champs Extra Innings is presented by Lawrence Technological University. Be curious. Make magic. Visit ltu.edu. Extra Innings is also brought to you by the Michigan High School Athletic Association, promoting the value and values of educational athletics. The Michigan Army National Guard, a proud sponsor of the MHSAA. The Michigan High School Baseball Coaches Association. For information on awards, clinics, rankings, and this year's All-Star Games, visit mhsbca.org. The Detroit Athletic Club Foundation Male and Female Athlete of the Year Awards. Who will be this year's award winners? Find out live June 5th, only on the State Champs Sports Network.